Hello. Lovely hair going on here. I wanted to talk to you today about recipe ruts, and this term is thrown around a lot out there. I'm in a recipe rut. Help, I'm in a recipe rut. I just needed your book or your course because I was in a recipe rut. And what I find with recipe ruts is they're a load of shit, because we're in this age of information. There is so much information out there, and there are so many recipes out there. And I think if you looked on the internet, or even if you looked as far as your bookshelf, I even have a book here, a cookbook right here that I was using to prop up my laptop before. But if you look on the internet and you went, or you looked in your bookshelf and you committed to cooking one of those recipes at every meal for the rest of your life, regardless of effort and whether you're excited about it, I just simply mean cooking one meal from a recipe for the rest of your life, you would not get through the amount of recipes that are out there in the world. So, like, myth motherfucking busted, recipe ruts do not exist. I think it's a case of effort, energy, inspiration, wanting to cook, knowing how to cook, not being intimidated in the kitchen, and pushing shit uphill before we, you're like trying to push it uphill rather than just cook a tray of roasted veggies and figure out an amazing something that goes with it. So, signs that you are keeping yourself in a recipe rut. Hey, Katie. Here we go with another smackdown. You think recipe chips are implanted in your brain when you're born, kind of like the new, next gen Thermomix, and you think that you've either got this cooking skill or you don't. You think that people are just born with a certain amount of recipes, or you've just not got it at all. It's a big fat no, and this is why there are people in the world like Nigel Slater, or whoever the English chap is that Pierre watches at night, who tours around with a beautiful accent, or Anthony Bourdain, who have just committed their lives or their work or their craft, popular chefs, to learning and experiencing new cuisines. It's because none of us know how to cook. We know on an instinctive level, like, we've got to fucking eat, right? Otherwise we're not going to be alive. We know on an instinctive level. The thing is that the convenience generation popped in the 50s or so, and then the skills just stopped being transferred. And this is the main problem that we're seeing today, where we're in this world of like, well, why should I cook? Because my parents didn't cook, or my mum was a nervous cook, or blah blah blah, whatever your excuse is. But no, you need to learn to cook. It doesn't need to be as hard as we make it, though. Okay, number 2 of why signs that you are keeping yourself in your invisible recipe rut. You're bored of what you're cooking, and you know exactly what it is that you want to make it better. Even the specific flavor bomb, as I call it. So it might be like, I really, I make chicken and it's kind of exciting, but I really just want like this awesome, crispy, delicious balsamic vinegar. I have the balsamic sitting there. You go on a story about where you got the balsamic vinegar from, and it's super special and it's super amazing. And you want that with like lemon zest grated up in there, and juice, and torn up basil, and you go into detail about you want, but you never actually fucking make the thing. That is one sign. You, my friend, are keeping yourself in your recipe rut. So, a tip for you: start by making this simple dressing. I've got heaps on my website that you could go to. Blender ones. I don't know if I have a simple oil one on there, but a simple oil one is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. That might not be right. Oil. You can do it this way. Oil. I don't do things in measurements, especially when it comes to dressings. I would just have my bowl of rice or quinoa or whatever it is, roasted veggies, pour some oil on there, drizzle a little bit of apple cider vinegar or balsamic vinegar or whatever it is that you want. You can even put on a little bit of maple syrup, but that might confuse things. You can just start with those 2. Salt, pepper, and that's enough flavor to get you going. One tip for you would be to use a really good olive oil. Hey Callie, hey Peter Day, I was just talking about you. Get yourself a really good olive oil, and that will help increase the flavor of your salad dressings. Number 3 of signs that you, my friend, are keeping yourself in a recipe rut. When you're challenged said recipe rut, maybe this lady right here is challenging you. Oh wait, have I been through this one? I think I have. No, this is like 2.2. Because it's like same shit, different smell right here. So when I challenge you, you're just in a recipe rut. Well, why don't you just get out of this recipe rut, XYZ, like we just said. You'd say, oh no, well, I know exactly what I need to do. I just need to go to the grocery shops on Sunday a little bit earlier, and I just need to put the oven on before I go, because the grocery shop is just around the corner. By the time I get back, the chicken will be cool enough, and the oven will be hot enough, and I'll pop it in, and then I'll be speeding things up, and dinner will be ready. And people go into these elaborate stories that they tell me just how detailed this Sunday is going to be and how different it's going to be. And then I ask them a week later, and it's the exact same thing happening again. No, I didn't go to the shops. Okay, let me consult my notes for a second. Another thing that these people might say is, oh, I know. Wait, I've done that one. I'm sick of chicken. I just need a really Flavortown punchy dressing. Same before. I'm sick of what I'm eating. I know exactly what I need to get myself out of this, except you're not doing it. And if we know this from anything, this is total repetitive insanity going on right here. You going insane, expecting the same thing to be, doing the same thing, expecting a different result every time, and lo and behold, you have the same fucking outcome every time. Swear jar. Okay. Give me an amen. Give me a love heart if you like that one, whoever is on. For you, my friend, what I would say, how often do I say my friend? It sounds like I'm on some cheesy, I don't know, like 1950s commercial. You, my friend. Okay. Step 1 for you is actually start doing what you say you're going to do. It's all up here and it's so picture perfect. Maybe you could start by sending yourself a little calendar reminder. Or if you need a reminder from me, message me and I will be on your ass to do this. Make it easy for yourself. Find a day of the week that you're going to love doing this. Don't schedule it on the morning after you know that you're going out for a huge drinking bender for your birthday or whoever's birthday. Make it easy for you. Better yet, if you can get delivery, get a delivery if that means what it's going to work for you. But my number 1 tip would be make this food and what you're going to cook so freaking delicious that you're thinking about it from right now until, let's say, Sunday you're going to get it. Make it so delicious that you are so excited and you're thinking about it and you can't not make it because it will be that exciting and that delicious. I have many of those things. Roast chicken, which I use as my example all the time, is one of them. A pot of yellow rice, even just avo that's been smashed up, kind of guacamole style, but that's a bit of effort, isn't it? So just avo smashed up with, say, some lemongrass, lemon zest on there, or something like that. Dried herbs, keep it simple. Another thing for me is a pot of black beans, even roasted sweet potato, goat's cheese, slow cooked beef brisket, whatever it is, you know what is delicious for you. Get it in your fridge so you're excited to make it. Number whatever we're up to. I should really number my list, shouldn't I? In my little notes here. You say the words recipe rut multiple times per week, maybe more than that. You probably even scroll, you follow people on Instagram who post food stuff. Maybe people on Instagram who post pretty food stuff and don't turn up as disheveled as I do, but you know, we're keeping it real. Actually, while we're on this, I wanted to show you my kitchen and how messy it is. Can you see that? There's shit everywhere. because it's real life and I'm working, so I just make something and then I leave it there and I clean up all at the end right before my husband gets home. And then I just start dinner prep all over again, because that is real life. So you scroll Instagram, you have all of these recipes bookmarked, you have a shelf full of cookbooks, maybe you've even printed recipes out, you have screenshots in your phone, you send them to yourself from your text message to your email, from your private email to your work email, back and forth. You have so many freaking recipes, but you still say the words recipe right multiple times per week. Okay, that was my little spiel at the start. So here's a start for you. Open up a recipe book, find something that you're excited to cook. This is kind of like the nutshell statement of this class. Find what you're excited to cook. Your excitement will fuel you to the next level. Cue that with music as well, and you'll be in there maybe doing a dance as well. You're not going to hate it as much as you think that you will. If you're short on time, you have business or work or a partner or a family, you have young people, you're single and you're busy socializing, you have housemates, whatever you think your excuse is, I just want to hold you for a second and just have a think back to before your current scenario was your scenario. So maybe right now it is, I have a partner and I have a partner and they're really freaking annoying, whoever they are. I have a kid and they're a fussy eater, or I have a kid and they're always on my leg, or I have a really demanding job and my boss is a jerk and they make me stay back all the time because XYZ. You get the idea. But before you were in this point, you were in another situation which you probably used an excuse there as well. So if it was, I have a partner now and they're really annoying and now I have to tailor my food to because they want to be healthy and blah blah blah, and I find it boring because all they want is chicken and broccoli. But before then, your excuse was, I'm single and there's only one of me, and who really wants to cook for one person? It's cheaper to eat out. And if you're getting my drift here, same shit, different story. You're avoiding your cooking and you're always going to have something going on in your life because you're a human and we're living and we're breathing in a world where we work. Hopefully you do meaningful work in the world. We work, we have a house we have to clean, we have a body that we have to take care of, we need to move it, we have everything going on. Why can't I list anymore? It's like I've never lived a life. Everything is going on. The point here is there's always going to be something, and it's just a mindful practice to think, am I using my busy and my recipe right as an excuse, and really it's just sitting in the way of me possibly enjoying this cooking experience? Because as Lou always says, I'm human, I'm going to be here for the next 60 years, or I'm going to be cooking for the next 60 years, 3 times a week for 60 years. How do I want this to go? It can be at total shitty, boring cesspool where I'm constantly fucking dragging my feet, or I can lift my heels up and do a little clip-clop and kind of enjoy it as I go along and cook something that I'm really, really, really into eating. I know what I'd prefer, but this one's over to you now. So, next point. Next point is on why your recipe rut might not be a recipe rut, or why your recipe rut is holding you back. Let me find my points. Here we go. Everything in the food world is boring for you. You see me talk about slow cooking beef brisket, you see me talking about roasted veggies, you see me talking about goat's cheese, and you can't see the ingredient for what it is or the potential for each of those ingredients and how simple they can be. All you see is boredom. You're like over here in the corner, like, I'm not going to dance, I'm not going to do the Macarena, or what's the other one, the bus stop, or I don't know, those shitty wedding dances that everybody loves to hate, but we all love it. You're just over there in the corner like, psh, I'm going to be annoying and not take part in the fun. But also on the other side, you poo-poo these suggestions. You poo-poo these suggestions and simple cooking tips. But on the other side of it, if someone was to say, okay, let's slow cook a whole duck, you on the same time will go, oh no, that's too difficult, or whatever it is. Like, you're not pleased on either side of this coin. So, here's a question for you. I don't even know what this note means, so I won't finish it. Hey, Jamie. Oh, what did Katie say? What are these questions? Terrible internet here. I'll have to listen back, Lou. Okay, see you later. This is a tip for you, Mr. or Mrs. Poo-poo can't be pleased. Really ask yourself, what is boring you? Is a tray of roasted veggies actually boring? Or are you not seeing kind of the potential of what's going on without it? I always say this, but you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know how easy a meal could be. I made the best meal last night, which will be in this Sunday Sorcery, this week's Sunday Sorcery, because it was bloody delicious, and I'm going to call it like a lasagna. It's pretty much a pasta bake, but to me it just was exactly everything that I've wanted in a lasagna without having to go to the efforts of the sheets or chopping up all the veggies, if you're doing pumpkin instead of that. It's delicious. Anyway, I've just totally gone off the track. But what's going on? What's actually boring you? So if you don't know what you don't know, then that's exactly right. You don't know what you don't know. Like, did you know that you could have a simple, rice is always my example, but you could have quinoa or a batch of cooked up awesome pearl barley that's been cooked in veggie stock. That, for one, is amazing. But did you know that you could take this orange and slice it up into segments and actually roast it up, and all of the flesh side, a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, and it will go all caramelized and delicious. Really good with blood oranges as well, if they're still around. And then this orange changes from this fresh, punchy orange flavor to much more sweeter and deeper in flavor, and it's just totally different. But it's just like, oh, interesting orange, not fresh orange. I need to work on my descriptions of food, I think. And that's one simple thing, but people, especially in Kitchen Sorcery, when I taught the lesson, which, I don't know, was probably just a bunch of roasted veggies, and this was the little extra thing in there, everyone said, oh my God, Lou, I've never thought of roasting up in that one, it was lemon. But you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how simple it could be, because all you know is maybe microwaved peas and lamb cutlets or something like that. Or all you know about a burrito is that it has chopped up tomato and grated tasty cheese and some type of guacamole, but you don't know how to make guacamole, so you always buy it because you think it takes a long time, when really it can be just picking it up, grating up some garlic in there and a squeeze of lemon, and that's pretty much guacamole with some chili flakes on top. Like this, we don't know what we don't know. I think this is a really big one for this point. We're just kind of, should I say it again? We don't know what we don't know. I think I'm back. My reception went. I'm very sorry about that. I can't remember where I was in my rant. You don't know what you don't know. Try and find out what excites you, but I really ask you to explore what is blocking you, because we can't really live this world without taking care of ourselves. And if you want to have an exciting life and stay healthy and respect your body, all of it comes down to, well, a lot of it comes down to what is going in your mouth. And I'm not talking about takeaway every now and then. I'm not talking about alcohol every now and then. I'm talking about simple veggies that are simple to make on your own, and just having the cooking thing down pat, because convenience food and ordering out and ordering, the gamut of meal delivery out there is not a sustainable sustainable option long term, especially when the oils that they're using are hydrogenated and shit oils that are bad for us. There's a crazy amount of salt in there because they got to make it taste good, and there's lots of sugar as well in things, and also just bad vibes. People cooking, your vibes go into your food, whether you I agree with that. It's a huge thing that we don't think about. So some options for you if you're bored by everything. One, as I've said for every other tip on this thing, find out what you're excited to eat. And if you're like, Lou, I like eating peanut M&Ms, that's cool. Maybe you could look to get some dark chocolate instead, or just one step further. Just one step. Maybe if water is a big one that I think I need to start talking about more. I've been in many conversations over the past few months, people are just not drinking enough water. They just don't. They say the only water that they have is in their coffee, and they just don't drink any water all day, which, I don't know, I'm a fish. I live in water and I drink so much water, so that's me. Anyway, back to it. Figure out what excites you. Some options could be the awesome roasted veggie dip that I did in Sorcery Sunday just last week. A simple dip like that, and just opening up your brain to how simple a dip can be to make. It doesn't always need to be a long, laborious process. And just get used to balancing some flavors. Maybe you want to make an awesome frittata. It could be veggie, you could throw in bacon, you could have goat's cheese, you could have tasty cheese, you could have cream, whatever you want. Maybe you want to make some type of crispy pork crackling. Just start experimenting. Okay, number whatever we're up to on this list of maybe your recipe rut isn't a recipe rut, or maybe you are keeping yourself in a recipe rut. You expect to know how to cook with applying zero effort. You are in a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know if that's the right word for that, but we're going with it. Each time you just look at it and it's whatever you've created. Oh yeah, look again, I can't think of a recipe. You're standing in the shop at maybe 8 p.m. at night. You are freaking tired after a long day. You've been at work for 12 hours. You're standing in the shop and you're just like, expecting your mind to be creative and think of some awesome meal that you're going to be inspired to create when you get home, when you are that freaking tired, and you're like, oh, look, again, I can't think of anything to cook. Nothing's exciting. Oh, this cooking thing is so freaking hard. I've been there. That's old Lou right there. Sorry. Why am I chuckling so much? Let me see where I'm up to. To you, I say that you're pushing shit uphill. I'm reminded of this quote from The Simpsons, and I actually quote this line a lot, and I wish there was some type of meme out there. On a side note, I've called memes pictures with words up until probably sometime this year. I always said, those pictures with words, apparently they're called memes. And the hillbilly mum or dad says to the doc, help me doc, I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas. And this is just every time I hear someone in this particular situation, or I'm writing about this type of scenario in my work, I always use this, and it just makes me laugh. I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas. And that is exactly what we do to our poor brains at 8 p.m. at night when we're just tired and uninspired, and work's been a total biatch, and now we're standing in a supermarket expecting our brains to think of some very creative thing to eat or something that's snappy and easy, and it's just not going to happen. That is pushing shit uphill. That is the definition of insanity. like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting it to be different in some way. So the next one on this list of maybe you're keeping yourself in your recipe rut is you've never made it before and you immediately assume, with no research whatsoever, you decide that because you've never made it, you've never heard of it, you've never had any experience or any exposure to making this food, that it must be difficult. And I'm going to use kimchi as an example here. And one of my beautiful friends who said to me, yeah, Lou, but you know, you're Lou, you're you. That's why you can make kimchi. And I said, no, I'm sorry, but no, it is a bunch of shredded veggies. And sure, you need to know what a brine is and you need to know how to create it, but it is disappointingly simple once you actually learn the process. And then it's almost like magic, because all you need to do is shred up these veggies, you add salt, you let the salt bring out all the moisture and all the liquid, the water from within the veggies, and the salt and the veggies do all the work for you. All you need to do is slice them up and put them in a sterile jar. That's one example. But you kind of, you think everything is difficult because you haven't tried it, and that is a general thing in life, but it's also comes back to one of the points that I was saying earlier, you know, Tony Bourdain and all these people, all these chefs that go traveling and they explore, you know, unique cultures and whatever food is going on there and their delicacies. This is what we're here to do in this life, is to learn and to live. And it's funny how for some reason when it applies to food, as you know, or cooking, this menial task that so many of us just like roll our eyes at, for some reason we put it in this different category. It's kind of like going to learn how to swim, or you know, swim laps, or it's kind of like going to learn how to skate, or learning how to shoot hoops, or learning how to improve your running style, or learning how to salsa dance, or just learning how to do your hair. Clearly I haven't ever been to that course. You know, these are all the things we do in our life, is learn how to learn a skill. But for some reason we put cooking in this box of, it's there with the washing, it's there with the menial jobs that don't really mean much. And I'm here to say that it is a skill like any other, and if you're not learning, you're dying, mate. So pick up your heels. That didn't sound too positive, did it? I've heard, that's a quote from someone, I should say that, I can't think of who it is, but if you're not learning, you're dying, and I do generally believe that. But we put it in front of us with cooking as this, oh, well, no one's ever, you know, I've never come across that recipe before, so it must be difficult. Pickling must be difficult. Making kombucha must be difficult. Roasting really crispy potatoes must be difficult. Slow cooking something and making it taste different every time must be difficult. Making a curry must be difficult. Curry paste, oh, that would be so difficult to make. And you could go on and on and on here, depending where you live in the world and what your exposure is and what you were brought up to eat as a kid. Okay. I'll leave you with this. Keep your inquisitive mind, please. Your life and your world will be better for it. And complacency is the mother of all problems at the moment. I think we only need to look around and see that. So that is the end of this little spiel of why signs that you might be keeping yourself in your recipe rut. That is it. Thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you all later.